Once upon a time, there was a dear little girl who was loved by everyone who looked at her, but most of all by her grandmother. And there was nothing that she would not have given to the child. Once she gave her a little cap of red velvet, which suited her so well that she would never wear anything else. So she was always called Little Red Riding Hood. One day her mother said to her, "Come, Little Red Riding Hood, here is a piece of cake and a bottle of wine. Take them to your grandmother. She is ill and weak, and they will do her good. Set out before it gets hot, and when you are going, walk nicely and quietly, and do not run off the path, or you may fall and break the bottle, and then your grandmother will have nothing. And when you get into her room, don't forget to say good morning, and don't look into every corner before you do it." "I will take great care," said Little Red Riding Hood to her mother. And off she went. The grandmother lived out in the woods, half a mile from the village, and just as Little Red Riding Hood entered the woods, a wolf met her. Little Red Riding Hood did not know what an evil creature he was, and was not afraid of him.
"Good day, Little Red Riding Hood,"
said the wolf. "Thank you kindly, Mr. Wolf," said Little Red Riding Hood.
"Why are you out so early, Little Red Riding Hood?"
"I am off to my grandmother's."
"What do you have in your apron?"
said the wolf. "Cake and wine. Yesterday was baking day, so poor sick grandmother is to have something good to make her stronger."
"Where does your grandmother live, Little Red Riding Hood?"
"A good quarter of a mile farther on in the woods. Her house stands under the 3 large oak trees." "You surely must know it," replied Little Red Riding Hood. The wolf thought to himself,
"What a tender creature! What a nice plump mouthful! She will be better to eat than that old woman. I must act shrewdly, so as to catch both."
So he walked for a short time right next to Little Red Riding Hood. And then he said,
"Little Red Riding Hood, do you see how pretty the flowers are around here? Why do you not look around? You don't seem to hear how sweetly the birds are singing. You walk gravely along as if you were going to school, while everything else out here in the woods is so merry."
Little Red Riding Hood raised her eyes, and when she saw the sunbeams dancing here and there through the trees, and the pretty flowers growing everywhere, she thought, "Suppose I take grandmother a fresh flower. That would please her. It is so early in the day that I will still get there in good time." So she ran from the path into the woods to look for flowers. Whenever she picked one, she fancied that she saw a still prettier one further on, and ran after it, and so got deeper and deeper into the woods. Meanwhile, the wolf ran straight to the grandmother's house. "Who is there?" said the grandmother.
"Little Red Riding Hood,"
replied the wolf.
"I have cake and wine for you. Please open the door."
"Lift the latch. I am too weak and cannot get up," said the grandmother. The wolf lifted the latch, opened the door, and without saying a word, he went straight to the grandmother's bed. And devoured her. Then he put on her clothes, dressed himself in her cap, closed the curtains, and laid in the grandmother's bed. Little Red Riding Hood had been running around picking up flowers when she remembered about her grandmother and set out on her way. She was surprised to find the cottage door open, and when she went into the room, she had a strange feeling. She called out, "Good morning," but received no answer. So she went to the bed and drew back the curtains. There lay her grandmother with her cap pulled over her face and looking strange. "Oh, grandmother," she said, "what big ears you have."
"The better to hear you, my child."
"But grandmother, what big eyes you have."
"The better to see you with, my dear,"
said the wolf. "But grandmother, what large hands you have."
"The better to hug you with,"
said the wolf. "Oh, but grandmother, what a terrible big mouth you have."
"The better to eat you with."
And scarcely had the wolf said this, then with one bound he was out of the bed and swallowed up Little Red Riding Hood. After the wolf had eaten Little Red Riding Hood, he lay down in the bed, fell asleep, and began to snore. The huntsman was just passing the house and heard the snoring. He thought to himself, "That old woman is really snoring. I should see if she needs anything." So he went into the room, and when he came to the bed, he saw that the wolf was lying in it. "There you are, you vulgar, despicable animal. I have been seeking you," said the huntsman. So the huntsman reached for his rifle and lifted it up. And just as he was about to fire it, he thought, maybe he devoured the grandmother, and maybe I can still save her. So the huntsman got out a pair of scissors and began to cut open the stomach of the sleeping wolf. And when he had made 2 snips, he saw Little Red Riding Hood. So he made 2 more snips, and the little girl sprang out and said, "Oh, how frightened I have been! How dark it was inside the wolf!" And after that, the grandmother came out alive as well. Little Red Riding Hood fetched great stones to fill the wolf's belly with, and when the wolf awoke, he tried to run away, but the stones were so heavy that he collapsed at once and fell dead. Then all three were delighted. The huntsman drew off the wolf's skin and went home with it. The grandmother ate the cake and wine that Little Red Riding Hood had brought her. Little Red Riding Hood thought to herself, "As long as I live, I will never leave the path by myself to run into the woods when my mother has forbidden me to do so."